All right, so Adam, you are the head market analyst at Newsquawk. Just give us a little bit about your background first of all, before we jump straight in and examine all the intricacies of a Newsquawk.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for having me. In terms of my background, so I'm the head market analyst over at Newsquawk, and this has actually been my only job since leaving university. So I've been working on the desk for about 11 years now. And, I started off fresh-faced with a bit of a better haircut and less facial hair, and kind of worked my way up from being a trainee analyst and, kind of getting to grips with basically how a desk works. So doing like a bit of the grunt work, understanding kind of what different data releases are, putting up headlines, help compiling research reports. And then I've kind of progressed since there for, getting on the Squawk, which we'll touch on shortly, I'm sure, what that is. And then ultimately running the Squawk, and then now I'm in a position where I oversee the analysts from our London office.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a section of the industry for people that are relatively new to markets or have never even experienced that. All of the stuff from Wall Street and from the City of London, all of that wall of information that comes to people every day, it needs to be aggregated and sectionalized and delivered in some capacity. Just explain to people that are relatively new, what does a Newsquawk do? How is it sort of built, and what are the main functions?
Yeah, so, what we offer, our primary product, is a Squawk. So basically that's an audio feed for traders. And it's not like a radio station where there's constant audio of us just chatting away. It's a push to talk service. So if there's something that we feel the need to say, we'll cover it on the Squawk. And if there's not, you might not hear from us for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, etc. Okay. So you're only hearing from us when we need to. And in terms of the content of what we're covering, so it can be various things. It can be breaking news. There could be something, for example, an oil refinery has been hit somewhere, or a central bank speaker said something unscheduled. And then we also cover, all the big major data releases. So the US non-farm payrolls, inflation reports, et cetera. And we do the central bank previews. And as well, we're ultimately providing market commentary throughout the day. So our job is basically almost kind of like financial DJs. We're explaining to people in real time what's going on in the market in a breaking news fashion, but also commentary about why things are moving. So, for example, if euro dollar has moved 20 pips in recent trades, then we're explaining to clients why that's the case. Or, if the US stock market is about to open, we'll explain the lie of the land, what we're looking out for at the open. And basically, via the audio feed, because it's such a quick mechanism with which to deliver information, it's very useful rather than waiting for a text update or a journalist to write 300-400 words of copy about something, because by that time you've missed it. So that's kind of our primary product offering, so via the audio. Then we also have a news feed, which basically is the text version of everything that we put out on the Squawk. So if you don't hear something, or if you've been away from your desk, you can use that to get briefed. And then also within that, we have our various research reports, which I think for a trader starting out, I think they're possibly one of the most useful things that we offer. So we run 3 desks out in Newsquawk. I run the European desk and oversee all the desks. We have a US one and an Asia one. And basically our kind of editorial aim for all of this is, if a trader's getting to their desk in the European session, we want to brief them on everything that's happened since they left their desk, say it's at 4 p.m., 5 p.m. the day before. So, for example, I oversee the production of the Daily European Open News, which is produced by our APAC desk. And basically, when I read that again at 6 a.m. in the morning, I'm like, does this tell me everything I need to know? But also as well, it's with, we're not writing flowery, kind of masses upon paragraphs. It's okay, euro dollar's up because X, blah, blah, blah. Equity futures are set to open this, blah, blah, blah. So it's written with the explicit aim of being aimed at traders, whereas other kind of news services is kind of, this is the information. It is not necessarily always that actionable. So that's kind of our kind of lens with which we operate.
You see, there's like a growing argument to say that the kind of stuff that you guys do is only increasing in its importance as time goes on, because years and years ago, for a retail trader or a prop trader or someone of that who's just getting involved in markets, access to information was incredibly difficult. You had to be on the inside. But now, these days, it seems like with the advent of the way that technology has gone, the problem is the opposite. It's filtering it and just being totally overwhelmed by information. Is that the way that you sort of see the way that your type of service going?
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. I mean, so I came on the desk in about 2013, and something like Twitter was in use then, but the velocity of information is not even remotely comparable. So, yes, you can get a lot more information on there because people are reporting it, and you get access to some really incredible people on there who share their insights in real time. But it means there's just so much more to go through. So, and that's the service that we kind of offer our clients, is that ultimately I have a desk full of analysts in there who are monitoring all these news out sources, and we're making an editorial decision at all times. What do our clients, if they're traders, need to know at this point in time? And that's kind of what we offer for like the retail audience, is we kind of, there's such a huge learning curve, and it's so steep for people. Our tool is basically to flatten that curve and help traders, understand things a lot better. And also it's a question of logistics. I mean, we have an institutional book as well. So we have clients at top hedge funds, top investment banks, but ultimately I know that my desk in the office, they're able to monitor more news sources than any one individual trader would be, no matter, how accomplished they are.
Yeah, I mean, so for anyone that starts, when it can seem like quite a cool tool to have at first, but then very quickly you've got to be able to sort of get to grips with the formats and the way things work and the way it dovetails in. The way it dovetails in with the price action. When I first started, and I started to work with the Squawk, one of the most valuable things I ever did was look at some of the news events as they're happening and look at the price action for those markets on a very fast time frame. So a prime example will be the Cushing numbers out of the US for the oil inventories on a Wednesday. If you're learning to understand the impact of inventories on that particular market, watching the Squawk on the delivery of the news and the timing of it against how the crude oil market is going to move is really valuable experience, and you get to experience that every single week.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's the same process for an analyst. When I came onto desk, I was like, what the hell is happening here? This is insane. But all these screens in front of me, I don't know what any of them are saying. But what you do is you take the time, and like you said, if you pick an example for an ECB rate decision, for example, in the press conference, first time you hear it, you'll think, okay, there's quite a lot going on here. But over time, what you do is you kind of build this muscle memory of, okay, well, Lagarde said X, ECB President Lagarde said X in the prior press conference. This time she's kind of tweaked her language a little bit, and euro dollar's, gone up or down however many pips. There isn't like a huge shortcut to this. You just need to see these things over and over again. I mean, I did an economics undergrad, and I thought I knew all the theories, but then when you apply them in the real world, it's a constantly, evolving picture which you need to keep up to date with. So yeah, it's about having patience and trying to, whenever something comes out, you wouldn't even necessarily want to trade it. Just see how the market moves and proceed accordingly, because ultimately financial markets, they're pricing mechanisms for known information. So what you might see, for example, if the ECB, they cut rates 25 basis points, okay, so typically that would be negative for the currency. But if that's what's expected, the currency might not move. And then if you want to, without getting too granular, some people may have been expecting a deeper cut of 50 basis points. So therefore, they would have disappointed those kind of more dovish bets. And therefore, perversely, they've cut rates. You could actually get a bullish reaction for the euro. So it's understanding those kind of mechanisms, which are the key things. But a Squawk service, like Newsquawk, we help you with those events. So for an ECB rate decision, we'd give you a full written preview. We'll give you a rundown on the audio 10 minutes before explaining all of this. We'll cover it in real time, which, if you're a retail trader, is incredibly difficult to do, because the ECB, for example, they'll publish a written statement that's about 400 words on the website. By the time you even open the page, the move will be done anyway. That's why you need a Squawk to kind of go through it. We'll cover it and then explain why the market's moved. in real time. So it's a trading assistance tool. There's also a trading education tool at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny how it does those. It's like a one-stop package that gives you context around why stuff is happening, rather than you just being sat in isolation looking at candles moving up and down. What do you think that are there any misconceptions in terms of like what people think a Squawk can do and what a Squawk can't do? So, for example, on its own, just buying it and having it just does not directly make you money, because you don't tell people which direction things are going.
Exactly, that's exactly right. So yeah, from an editorial standpoint, and some clients will kind of want to know, where's Eurodollar going to move next? And it's like, well, the kind of answer to that is, if I knew that, I'd probably be sat on a beach somewhere drinking a pina colada. All we can kind of do is, provide traders with, well, for example, this event is coming up shortly. You need to be aware of that. And if this is kind of said, if, for example, or data comes in higher than expected, lower than expected, then you need to position accordingly based on that. And, because, for example, if you take a currency pair, there's two legs to the pair. So there's a euro leg, there's a dollar leg, and basically help explain what the events on the horizon are, how things have been moving recently. But beyond that, we can't predict what's going to happen next. And in fact, no one can really. It's about being prepared and being nimble for when things do happen. You are prepared to act accordingly.
What sort of, for people getting into it, what sort of traditionally, a lot of people will look at fundamentals, they'll try it, they'll maybe go onto something like Forex Factory, they'll have a look around, maybe even pick up the paper and read it, but they'll quite quickly then just move on to just charting techniques, looking at strategies, going onto forums, looking for something that makes sense to them. What do you think? I mean, I came to fundamentals quite late, but it was the most valuable bit of my learning as a trader that I ever did. What do you think are some simple, clear tips that people can use to actually start to grapple with fundamentals on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so the first thing, I can talk you through my experience working on desks. So 11 years on, I get on the desk. First thing I want to know is what is out today, okay? Because that is going to be ultimately what dictates the choreography of your session. So, for example, if I've got non-farm payrolls at 1:30 in the afternoon, I know that that's most likely, unless something completely unexpected happens, is going to be the greatest source of volatility that day, okay? So then I've got that, and then I'm okay. If you don't know what non-farm payrolls is, find out, okay? Yeah. And then, within non-farm payrolls, there's a lot of moving parts. So, you have non-farm payrolls headline, and then as part of the household survey, you have the unemployment rate, you have wages components. And then, so everything's coming out, you need to understand the relative importance of it, and what's coming out and how it can move markets. And for example, a Squawk will help provide you all the color and everything you need to know on that. And like we were saying before, then watch the market accordingly. And then I still have my notepad in front of me every single day, and I write what's happened throughout the day, and I'll do it by asset class. I'll do what the news is, how market pricing has moved, things like the FOMC, the ECB, or the major central banks. And then I'll review it as when I'm about to leave. Okay, this is what's happened. This is how the market's moved. Next day I come in, I just revisit it again. I check my calendar, see what's happened overnight. And it's just building that muscle memory and just having I've never traded. I am not a trader, but all traders have their trading journal for trades that have done well, trades that have done badly, etc., etc. As an analyst, you need to have some sort of journal as well to build the bigger picture. I think sometimes the mistakes I made in my early part of my career was I was just getting too caught up in the intraday, day to day, and not thinking about that day to day thing and having reference points. So, I have my notepad. So when non-farm payrolls comes out next week, I can just flick back to it and be like, okay, this is what the market did then. Okay, and that kind of gets me prepared for what I'm looking out for next time.
Yeah, and then practice, a lot of practice involved in just letting it wash over you day after day, and then really slowly you sort of get used to the cycle and the things that come around. Something someone said to me a while ago was that they didn't want to do anything to do with fundamentals because it seems like there's too much of it and too complicated. But actually, it's quite a small world. It's a small carousel of stuff that goes around every 4 weeks, as compared to a lot of strategies and technical analysis stuff, where there's thousands of different different ways of dissecting the price action. So fundamentals is actually, once you get into it, it's quite a small universe.
Yeah, I mean, my theory, which I say, well, not theory, but my thing is, I think the market can only really focus on maybe 2-3 issues at a time. So, there could be something that's huge next week, and it could be a major geopolitical thing, which is still going on in the world and hasn't fundamentally changed necessarily. But then it'll get replaced by something else. And the market doesn't necessarily have the bandwidth to always be able to kind of cope with these things, these different shifts in the market, and pay attention to what's happened before. And as part of my kind of, exercise when I'm writing my notes is I'm constantly thinking, what are the 3 most important things at the moment? Okay. And, if you take something like equities at the moment, the key things that are important for equities are growth in the US. We're now in earnings season, so that's increasingly important. And then Fed policy, what's the Fed reaction function to all these things that are going on in the economy? Those are the key 3 things that I'm looking at. And then we've now got the US presidential election coming in. Is that when that in 2 weeks' time, that's going to be probably number 1 issue. What's that going to replace? Earnings season, if that's winding down a little bit, does that maybe come in for that? And having all these things on your horizon and knowing that you don't need to know every single thing that's going on at the time. If you have a reference point of what are these things, economic growth, inflation, how does this impact what's going on at the Fed? Then that kind of, you can frame your learning through that and just think, is this relevant based on that? Possibly not. Understanding that those narratives, they come in like the tide coming in and out. They become a little bit more in focus, and then they move a little bit to the background. So we're very, very lucky at FTUK that we've got you guys sponsoring our Fundamentals Week. So thank you very much for giving us access to the tech, and all our traders can definitely benefit from just being across those narratives that are moving the market, particularly like you say with the US elections coming up in a week. Now, what are there any particular offers that Newsquawk can offer can offer clients at the moment? Yeah, so I need to get this right before my sales team, bludgeon me if I get it wrong. So in regards to promos, we're currently offering a 15% discount on annual subscriptions, but we're going to be sharing a coupon code with FTUK. So their traders, they can receive a 25% discount off their monthly subscription. You'd never know that I read that off an email from the sales guy that he sent me earlier. It sounds fantastic. It sounds silky smooth delivery. No, that was amazing. No, thank you very much, Adam. I really, really appreciate your time. It's a fascinating time to be in markets, and it's great to have a company like Newsquawk work with us for the week. And long may it continue. Thank you very much. Perfect. Thank you for having me.